Welcome to another deep dive. Looks like we're going deep on AI today. You've sent over some really interesting stuff about a company called Eco Retail and how AI could change, well, pretty much everything about how they do business.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. We've got actual plans, real companies using AI, and even a bit about where AI research might be headed.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about this report on Eco Retail. They're dealing with some pretty typical retail problems, right? Like how to give each customer that personalized experience, how to get their supply chain running smoothly, and always how to cut costs.
Right. In this document, it really lays out a specific plan using Microsoft Azure's AI platform. It gets into the details about how AI tools could help them reach those goals. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's not just like general ideas. It talks about using real-time data to make those customer experiences feel personal, almost like predicting what shoppers want before they even realize it themselves. And oh, get this, using AI-powered sensors for their whole supply chain. Think about it. Shelves that restock themselves.
It's like straight out of science fiction. And in this document, it gets into the numbers too. It projects some big potential savings and revenue increases for eco retail if they actually use these AI solutions right.
Yeah, that was a big takeaway for me too. It makes a really good argument for AI being a total game changer for a company like Eco Retail. But then we have this other document that talks about prompting. It says it's like the key to making AI work its magic, especially with those big, powerful language models.
Prompting is basically about how to talk to AI the right way. You're writing the instructions, asking the questions, and getting the AI to give you what you need.
So it's like learning like a new language, but for AI.
Exactly. And this document, it goes through all kinds of prompting techniques. There's zero shot, where you're asking AI to do something it wasn't specifically trained for, and few shot, where you give it a couple of examples first. It even talks about more advanced stuff like chain of thought prompting, which helps the AI figure things out step by step, and generative knowledge prompting, where the AI actually uses knowledge. It created itself to solve problems.
Whoa, so we can like teach AI to think more like us. Okay, this is where things get a little complex, I think. We have this source on neural networks and transformers.
Neural networks are how AI actually learns, but they can seem complicated. Think of them as like a huge web of connections, kind of like the neurons in our brains, processing tons of information. Transformers are a special kind of neural network that's been amazing at understanding and creating human language.
Okay, that makes it a little easier to grasp. But how do these transformers actually work? This document throws around terms like tokenization, embedding, multi-layer perceptrons. I have to admit, I'm a bit lost.
So picture this. You type a sentence into a transformer. First, it gets chopped up into single words or even parts of words. That's tokenization. Then each piece gets turned into a vector, which is just a bunch of numbers that represent its meaning. It's basically giving every word a unique code. That's embedding.
Okay, I think I'm following so far, but those multi-layer perceptrons, or MLPs, what are they doing in all of this?
MLPs are where the magic really happens. They take those codes from the embedding and try to figure out what they mean. Imagine like layers of interconnected nodes, and each one's doing a little calculation to understand the input.
So it's like each layer in the MLP is asking a question about the input and then figuring out what to do next based on the answers.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And when we stack a bunch of these MLPs together, we create a deep neural network, which can learn super complex patterns from massive amounts of data. That's how AI can generate human-like text, translate languages, write different types of content, you name it.
That's incredible. We're literally giving AI the tools to understand language and even create language like we do. But AI needs to do more than just language, right? It needs to see, too, especially if it's going to work in retail. So what about computer vision?
Absolutely. We have a source here all about the basics of computer vision, basically teaching machines to see and understand images, just like our eyes. It even gets into different approaches like CNNs, which stands for convolutional neural networks, and VITs, which are vision transformers.
CNNs, VITs, sounds complicated. Can you explain these in like simple terms so even I can get it?
Think of CNNs like specialists at finding patterns in images, edges, textures, shapes. They use filters that scan the image, kind of like a detective looking for clues.
So they're looking for patterns, got it. But what about those VICs? How are they different?
Well, VITs, instead of looking at the whole image at once, they break it down into small chunks and then see how those chunks fit together. It's like solving a jigsaw puzzle by looking at each piece and figuring out where it goes.
Okay, that's interesting. But why do we need two different ways of doing this? What are the good and bad things about each?
CNNs, they've been the standard for computer vision for a long time. And they're really good at things like classifying images and finding objects in them. But VITs are showing a lot of potential, especially when it comes to understanding the bigger picture of an image, like what's happening in a scene or adding captions to images.
So it's like CNNs are the detail people and VITs are the big picture thinkers.
Yeah, I like that. Which one you use really just depends on what you're trying to do with it.
That makes sense. Okay, let's bring this back to retail. How's computer vision actually changing how people shop and how businesses run?
Think about how much we use our eyes when we shop. Computer vision can do things like visual search. So you snap a picture of something you want and bam, you find it online or in a store. It can also give you suggestions based on what you like to look at.
It's like having a personal stylist who knows your taste even better than you do.
Right. And it goes further. Think virtual try-on, where you can see how clothes look on you without actually trying them on. And for the businesses, it's changing how they manage stock and even prevent theft.
So cameras are like the eyes of AI in retail. Wow. But there's still something missing. Natural language processing, NLP. If AI is going to really understand customers, it needs to understand how we talk, right?
You hit the nail on the head. We actually have a document that goes deep on NLP, which is all about teaching machines to get human language, like with all its little quirks and complexities.
We already talked about how AI can handle language with those transformer models. What else is there to NLP? Why is it such a big deal?
Well, think about how we use language. It's not just the words themselves. It's the context, the tone, what we really mean, even sarcasm. NLP systems are getting better at understanding all that.
It's like teaching AI to read between the lines. That sounds super hard.
It definitely is. But NLP is making some crazy progress. Think chatbots that can have a normal conversation, machine translation that's actually good, even AI figuring out how you're feeling based on what you write.
Imagine AI that knows what you're saying and how you feel when you say it. That would change everything about retail, right?
Absolutely. Companies could use it to analyze what customers are saying in real time, personalize their marketing to how people are feeling, even create chatbots that can be empathetic and actually helpful.
This is amazing. We've covered how AI can handle data, see the world like we do, and even understand how we talk. But how does this all come together in social media? That's where so much customer interaction happens these days.
You're right. Social media is huge for any business. And we have a whole document about how AI is changing social media marketing and customer engagement.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me about the big trends happening right now.
One big thing is that AI is making content creation way easier. Tools like ChatGPT can write social media posts, captions, even scripts for videos. And it's way faster than a human could do it.
So no more writer's block. Sign me up.
Right. And it's not just creating stuff. AI can personalize marketing campaigns, figure out what people are feeling based on their social media, and even predict what's going to be popular next. And of course, there are chatbots that can interact with customers all the time.
So it's like having a whole team of AI marketing assistants working around the clock. That's pretty powerful. Are there any companies already using AI like this?
Oh yeah, there are tons of examples in this document. Like Heinz, they used AI to create images based on just the word ketchup. The results looked a lot like their famous bottle. It was a really clever way to use AI to strengthen their brand.
That's a great example of using AI for creative marketing. Any others?
Coca-Cola has been using AI for all kinds of things. They made a platform where people can use AI to make art. And they even used AI to create a digital version of Jennifer Lopez for Virgin Voyages campaign.
Wait, a virtual J-Lo? That's wild. Tell me more.
It was a big success. Digital J-Lo was in a commercial and even chatted with people online, making it a really personal and engaging experience.
It seems like AI can do almost anything on social media. There are so many new ways to be creative and connect with customers. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about machine learning, or ML. It's kind of like the engine driving all of this, right?
Yeah, machine learning is at the heart of it all. It's the foundation of how AI learns and grows over time. This source breaks down all the types of ML, from supervised to unsupervised to reinforcement learning.
All right, I'm ready for a crash course in ML. What are the essential things to understand?
The basic idea of machine learning is this. You train these algorithms on tons of data so they can learn patterns and predict things without you having to program every single step. Imagine teaching a kid to ride a bike. You don't give them a manual, you let them practice, fall a few times, and eventually they figure it out on their own.
I like that analogy. What about all these different types of learning you mentioned? How are they different?
In supervised learning, you give the algorithm data that's already labeled, so you're telling it what the right answer is for each input. It's like giving that kid training wheels. They still have to learn to balance and pedal, but they have some help.
So the algorithm learns from examples. Got it.
Exactly. And it gets better over time at predicting things with new data, like the kid finally taking the training wheels off and riding on their own.
That makes sense. So what about unsupervised learning? What happens when you take the training wheels off right away?
In unsupervised learning, the algorithm doesn't get any labeled data. It's like throwing that kid on a bike without any instructions and saying, figure it out.
That sounds a lot harder.
It is, but it's also super powerful because the algorithm can find hidden patterns and connections in the data that we might not even see. It's like that kid finding a totally new way to ride the bike that we never thought of.
Wow, that's really cool. But how about reinforcement learning? How does that work?
Reinforcement learning is kind of like training a dog. You give the algorithm rewards for good decisions and penalties for bad ones. It learns through trial and error, trying to get as many rewards as possible.
So, like, you give the kid a treat every time they ride the bike without falling down.
Exactly. And by changing those rewards and penalties, you can guide the algorithm to master certain tasks.
This is so fascinating. But how does machine learning actually work in the real world? It all sounds pretty theoretical.
Oh, machine learning is everywhere. From personalized recommendations on Amazon to detecting fraud in banks to self-driving cars.
No way, really. Can you give us some specific examples of how it's being used?
Definitely, yeah. One of the documents talks about Amazon using machine learning for its recommendations, which is a big reason why they sell so much.
So those customers who bought this also bought this suggestions. That's all machine learning.
Yep, and it works really well. Then there's Darktrace, a cybersecurity company that uses machine learning to find and stop cyber attacks as they're happening.
That's like having an AI bodyguard for your computer systems.
Exactly. And then there's Google Duplex. This AI system can make calls and book appointments sounding so human-like that the person on the other end might not even realize they're talking to a machine.
Hold on, AI can make phone calls now. That's both impressive and a little bit scary.
I know, right? It shows how machine learning is making the lines between humans and machines even blurrier. And then there's Waymo. They're using machine learning for self-driving taxis in Arizona.
It sounds like machine learning is literally driving us into the future. This is amazing. Speaking of the future, what about AI in research? It seems like it could change everything about how we make scientific discoveries.
Absolutely. AI isn't just changing business, it's revolutionizing research too. We have a source that explores some of the cutting-edge tools and platforms being used for AI-driven research.
I'm intrigued. What are some of the coolest things happening?
One platform that's making a big impact is Perplexity.ai. It's a research tool that answers your questions in a conversational way, almost like you're talking to a super smart research assistant.
That sounds awesome. So you can ask it any research question and it'll give you the answer.
It's not quite that simple. You still need to know how to ask the right questions to get good answers. But what Perplexity.ai does really well is combine information from different sources and give you in-depth responses.
It's like having a personal research librarian right there on your computer.
Exactly. And it can do more than just find information. It can also help with analyzing data, coming up with hypotheses, and even designing experiments.
Wow, that's a total game changer for researchers. Can you give us some real-world examples of how AI is being used in research across different fields?
One of the most exciting areas is medical research. AI is being used to analyze huge data sets of patient records, find patterns that humans might miss, and predict what's going to happen with better accuracy.
So it's like having an AI doctor that can see things in the data that we can't.
Exactly. And it's not just about diagnosis. AI is also speeding up the development of new drugs and treatments, which could lead to breakthroughs in curing diseases.
That's incredible. What other fields is AI shaking things up in?
AI is making big waves in material science, too. It's helping us create new materials that are lighter, stronger, and more sustainable for everything from buildings to airplanes.
Wow, it really seems like AI is revolutionizing research across the board. But let's zoom out for a second and think about the bigger picture. What's next for AI? We've talked about some potential uses, but what are the big questions that AI researchers are trying to answer right now? What are the frontiers they're pushing?
That's a great question. One of the biggest challenges right now is figuring out how to create AI that's not just smart in a limited way, but that actually understands the world deeply, like humans do.
So it's not just about copying what humans do, but about understanding how we think.
Yeah, that's it. We want AI that can reason, learn, and adapt to new situations, just like we do. It's a tough challenge, but researchers are making progress all the time. Another big one is making AI more reliable and robust. Right now, AI can be fooled or tricked pretty easily, and it can make mistakes that humans wouldn't. We need AI that's tougher and can handle surprises gracefully.
So, like, we need to teach AI to think on its feet.
Exactly. AI needs to be able to improvise and solve problems in situations that are always changing. And of course, we can't forget about all the potential ways we can use AI in different fields and in our everyday lives. Exploring those possibilities is a big part of what makes AI so exciting.
It sounds like we've only just begun to explore what AI can do. There's so much potential waiting to be unlocked.
Absolutely. AI is constantly evolving, with new discoveries and challenges popping up all the time. It's a really exciting time to be a part of this technological revolution. It really does feel like we're on the edge of something huge. Speaking of big changes, I think it's time we talked about how to actually use all of this AI stuff. We've covered a lot of the ideas, but how would a company like Eco-Retail make it happen?
I was thinking the same thing. It's great to talk about potential, but what about putting it into practice? Luckily, this eco-retail document, it doesn't just talk about the benefits, it suggests a step-by-step plan for actually using it.
Right, that step-by-step approach is important. They emphasize starting small, maybe trying a few pilot projects, like using AI for recommendations with just a small group of customers, or trying out those AI sensors for inventory in a few stores first.
So like dipping their toes in the AI water before jumping all the way in.
Exactly. It gives them a chance to test things out, see what works, and make adjustments before they go all in on AI across the whole company.
Makes sense. You don't want to rush into a big technology change without figuring things out first.
Definitely not. And this document also talks about needing a long-term plan for using AI. It's not a one-time thing. It's something that keeps evolving as these technologies change.
So it's like a journey with AI, not a destination. You're always learning and adapting as you go.
I like that. It's a journey. And this document highlights how important it is to work with people who know AI really well, like Microsoft in this case. They can guide them through the process and help them avoid making mistakes.
Like having an AI expert as a guide through this new territory. Okay, speaking of new tools, this Leonardo.ai platform sounds super interesting. This document explains how to use it to create images, and it just seems like such a cool and practical use for AI.
Leonardo.ai is a great example of how AI is making it possible for anyone to be creative. You don't have to be like a professional artist or designer to make amazing images.
I know, right? And this document actually gives step-by-step instructions on how to use Leonardo.ai well. It talks about deciding what you want your image to be about, choosing a style, writing a description, and even using modifiers to fine-tune it.
Those modifiers are like having a bunch of controls for your image. You can choose the lighting, the composition, even the mood you want to create.
It's like having an AI art director working with you to make your vision come to life.
Exactly. And the document even gives you some example prompts and like magic words you can use to get started and be more creative.
Okay, I need to hear some examples. I'm already picturing all the cool stuff I could make.
All right, so let's say you want to create a futuristic city. You could use a prompt like a bright futuristic city at night with flying cars, really tall skyscrapers made of glass, neon lights, and bridges that float, digital art, hyper-realistic cinematic lighting, tons of detail.
Wow, that's really specific. I bet the images that come out are amazing.
They are. Or if you want something a little more whimsical, try something like a mystical forest with fog everywhere, filled with glowing fairies and magical creatures and huge trees, sparkling lights, a surreal feeling, dreamlike 4K resolution.
Okay, I love it. I can already see that image in my head. It's like AI is letting us bring our wildest ideas to life.
Exactly. That's what's so cool about AI. It can boost our creativity and help us express ourselves in ways we never could before.
This is mind-blowing. Okay, before I go off and create a million crazy images, let's get back to how a company like Eco-Retail could actually use AI. One of these sources mentions a platform called Make.com. It sounds like it could really help businesses automate things and make their work smoother.
Yeah, Make.com. It's like the ultimate tool for businesses. You can connect all kinds of apps and services, automate tasks, and use AI to improve everything from marketing and customer support to how they operate and analyze data.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention. How does it actually work, though? Can you give me an example?
Let's say Eco-Retail wants to automatically send a nice welcome email to every new customer who signs up on their website. With Make.com, they could connect the website's sign-up form to their email system. Then they could use something like ChatGPT to create a unique welcome message for each new customer.
It's like having an AI assistant who greets every new customer with a personalized message. That's a really nice touch.
Exactly. And that's just one small example. Make.com has tons of pre-built connections to popular apps and services, and you can even create your own connections if you need to.
So you can build like custom AI workflows without needing to be a coding expert. That's incredible.
Exactly. And the coolest part is you don't need to be a tech whiz to use it. Make.com makes it easy to automate even really complicated tasks and processes.
Amazing. It seems like AI is giving us the tools to work smarter, not harder, to be more efficient and productive with everything we do. Speaking of efficiency, one of these sources talks about scaling laws in AI research. That sounds kind of complex. Can you explain it simply?
Sure. Scaling laws in AI research are basically about the connection between the size of an AI model, the amount of data it learns from, and how well it performs. Researchers have noticed that as you make the AI model bigger and give it more data, it gets way better at what it does.
So it's like the bigger the AI brain and the more it learns, the smarter it gets.
Exactly. And this has big implications for the future of AI. As we build more powerful computers and create tons of data, we can expect AI to do even more amazing things.
That's both exciting and a little scary, to be honest. It feels like we're unlocking new levels of intelligence that we never thought possible. But let's switch gears again and talk about the future of AI. We've already discussed some potential applications, but I'm curious, what are the big questions AI researchers are grappling with now? What are they trying to achieve next?
That's a great question, and it really gets at what AI is all about. One of the toughest challenges is creating AI that isn't just intelligent in a narrow sense, but actually understands the world on a deeper level, kind of like humans do.
It's mind-blowing to think about AI actually understanding the world, not just copying what we do. That seems like a huge challenge.
Oh, it definitely is. We're talking about AI that can, reason, learn from experience, and deal with new situations, just like people do. It's a tough nut to crack, but researchers are getting closer all the time. Another big one is making sure AI is reliable. Right now, it can be fooled pretty easily, and it can make mistakes that a human wouldn't. We need AI that's more resilient, that can handle surprises without falling apart.
So we need to teach AI to think on its feet, basically.
Exactly. AI needs to be able to improvise, to problem solve in situations that are constantly changing. And of course, we've got to keep exploring all the ways we can use AI in different fields and parts of our lives. Discovering those possibilities is what makes this whole field so exciting.
It feels like we've just scratched the surface of what AI can do. There's so much potential still out there.
Absolutely. AI is constantly evolving. New discoveries and challenges are popping up all the time. It's a really exciting time to be a part of this.
Speaking of exciting, one of the documents actually talks about some potential advancements in AI that are pretty mind-blowing. It mentions things like education systems that are totally personalized for each student, neural interfaces that would let us control machines with our minds, and even extended reality experiences that blend the physical and digital worlds.
Yeah, that document is a trip. It paints this picture of the future where technology is woven into our lives in ways we can't even imagine right now. But with all of this potential, there are also some important things to think about. It really emphasizes the need to address some concerns as AI keeps developing.
That's what I was thinking. Some of that stuff sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie. Exciting and a little bit unnerving at the same time. What are some of the big things we need to keep in mind as AI gets more powerful and more integrated into our lives?
Data privacy is a huge one. AI needs tons of data to work. But who owns that data and how is it being used? We need rules and regulations to make sure our personal information is being handled responsibly.
It's like AI needs some ground rules so we can feel comfortable letting it into our lives.
Right. Another big concern is transparency. AI systems are getting more complex, so it can be hard to understand how they're making decisions. We need to be able to see inside, understand their logic, and make sure they're not operating in secret.
It's like we need to see AI's work to understand how it got to a certain conclusion or made a decision.
Exactly. AI needs to operate in a way that makes sense to us and that we can hold accountable. And of course, we can't forget about the potential impact of AI on jobs. We've talked about this a bit, but it's crucial to think about how to prepare for a future where AI automates a lot of the jobs that people do now.
That's so important. It's not just about protecting the jobs we have now, but getting ready for the jobs of the future, the ones that will pop up as AI changes industries and creates new opportunities.
Absolutely. We need to focus on education, training, and teaching people new skills so they can thrive in a world where AI is everywhere. It's about giving people the power to adapt to the changes that AI is going to bring.
So it's a two-way street. We need to guide AI's development in a responsible way, but we also need to prepare ourselves for the changes it will bring to our lives and our work.
Well said. It's about humans and the technology we create working together, finding that sweet spot between innovation and responsibility.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've explored how AI works, the incredible potential it has, and even some things we need to be cautious about. AI is changing our world in profound ways, and we're just at the beginning of this journey.
I know. And the most exciting part is that we're all part of this journey. We're all shaping the future of AI together.
So here's a question for you, our listener. Thinking about everything we've discussed today, where do you see AI making the biggest difference in your life in the years to come? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring.